Welcome and thank you for joining our webinar, Optimizing Your Manufacturing Supply Chain for Improved Operations and Visibility. My name is Kim Anselmo and I'll be helping facilitate our webinar today. But before we get started, let's go through just a few Zoom webinar tips so you can engage with our presenters and have the best experience possible. So you should see a Zoom toolbar with icons that include ask a question, chat, and raise your hand. So you can use the ask a question or chat to submit a question or comment at any time. If you do need any assistance, click the raise your hand icon and I will connect with you to help. We do encourage you to ask questions throughout this presentation and we will do our best to answer them all by the end. If you do ask a question and we didn't get to answer it, we'll make sure to follow up with you personally after the presentation as well. If you experience any audio issues during the webinar, you can access your audio settings to change it. Do so by clicking on the Join Audio icon in the button, the left-hand corner on the Zoom meeting toolbar. It'll allow you to connect via your computer, or you can go ahead and dial in by a phone during the meeting as well. And then lastly, just to let you know, within 72 hours of this webinar, you'll be getting a link to download the slide deck as well as the recorded presentation. So, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our moderator for today, Chris Moore.
Thanks, Kim. Hey, Kim, I'm seeing a few more people join in right now. So let's give it like 15 or 20 seconds and then I'll get started.
Sounds great. Thanks, Chris.
All right, guys. Well, hey, good morning, and I appreciate everyone jumping on this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you're at. Armanino and Microsoft have been working diligently with our customers, especially in the manufacturing industry, to help them innovate and transform their organization. Once again, my name is Chris Moore. I'm a partner with Armanino. I started our Microsoft practice back in 2003. Prior to that, I was with Anderson Consulting, Accenture, working with global manufacturing organizations, helping to deploy business applications. At Armanino, we've been an inner circle partner with Microsoft for the last 9 years. Last year, we were fortunate enough to be U.S. Partner of the Year for Dynamics 365 ERP. And at Armanino, we're a traditional tax audit and consulting firm. We have about 2,000 employees, approaching $500 million in revenue. And within our consulting organization is where our Microsoft practice sits. And we have over 250 professionals working throughout the Microsoft platform of products to deliver manufacturing capabilities to our customers. The two areas that we've really invested and believe in heavily is around data automation and analytics and artificial intelligence. We've come to realize that data is front and center to making smart manufacturing business decisions. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today as we get into the webinar here. Next slide, please. And with that, I'd like to introduce Jesse Alleyne. Jesse is one of the manufacturing industry leads at Microsoft and has been working at Microsoft for the last 8 years. But prior to that, worked with multiple global manufacturing organizations in helping to optimize their supply chain and manufacturing operations. Jesse, take it over.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. As Chris mentioned, my name is Jesse Alleyne. I lead our manufacturing industry pivot and transformation within the corporate space. Today, we're seeing a lot of transformation within the industry, and that's driven by a few trends. First is around the ease of using the cloud, but another one is the difference and the changes going on in the corporate environment when it comes to spend and access to technology. Next slide, please. So first, I want to talk about what's going on in the value chain in manufacturing generally, and a little bit about what's going on in high tech specifically. As we've seen, there are digital transformation hotspots across the value chain. And what that means to us is there are opportunities to digitize processes, then visualize that data, and then uptake on more transformational workloads like artificial intelligence and business process automation. When we look at manufacturing as a sub-use case, historically, there have been challenges and trade-offs that needed to be made. One example is sacrificing quality in order to produce variety. If we look at supply chain, it was around keeping inventory in order to maximize your on-time and full delivery. But with the advent and the digitization of more processes, what we're seeing is that you can actually optimize these trade-offs simultaneously. So we're seeing a lot of customers that are actually able to both lower their inventory and improve their on-time delivery in full, and in manufacturing, improve quality and improve the variety of products that they can offer. Across the entire value chain, we're seeing opportunities like this where the trade-offs that needed to be made historically no longer need to be made if you're able to access that data and then put that data into a system that you can then visualize and process more effectively. And as our CEO says, tech companies are not only transforming themselves, but they're transforming others through what they're doing in terms of creative software solutions. So we see the opportunity to not only digitize your processes internally, but then also monetize that and create new offerings that are more profitable as you look at your customer base. Next slide, please. Now, on the other side, we're seeing all sorts of innovations come out of the technology space. This is something at Microsoft we're really excited about. I want to give you a couple examples of really interesting and fascinating technology and solutions that are coming out of research and development and that are being deployed within our customer space. One use case is machine tuning and machine calibration. One application of artificial intelligence that we've seen is as human beings, we're typically able to keep track of one input and one output. When you add a second input and a second output, and those inputs and outputs correspond or correlate to one another, we're still able to keep up with that more or less. If you think about how an Etch-a-Sketch works, where one dial turns X and Y, or one dial turns X and the other dial turns Y, you can kind of figure out where your lines are going to go. But imagine adding a third dial to that Etch-a-Sketch or a fourth dial to that Etch-a-Sketch, and how complicated and difficult it would be to keep track of those changes. What we're seeing is AI can actually do that very efficiently. So some of these processes that would have many dials, similar to that Etch-a-Sketch scenario, we saw customers that would spend days, weeks, or months calibrating their systems and trying to get quality to a point that they could use it. But with machine tuning, it can actually do that process in seconds. So it's a huge leap when it comes to manufacturing uptime and capabilities. Another scenario that we've seen in that space is a customer needed to optimize their warehouse. They actually were a glass manufacturer, and they wanted to minimize the amount of times that glass was moved, because they saw that every time the glass was moved, it was a safety risk and also a product risk. So they used artificial intelligence to tell them proactively in real time, in real space, where exactly to put the next shipment of glass coming off the line based on where what needed to come out of the factory next. So they were able to minimize the safety risk, improve or decrease the scrap that they had in their factories as well, and improve the efficiency of their shipping. So technology is really giving us some of these huge opportunities to advance manufacturing. Next slide, please. So what do you get when you actually put together the technology opportunities and the value chain hotspots with some of these innovations that we're making in technology? That's the question that we asked ourselves at Microsoft. And what we decided to do was kind of look at the opportunities that we can invest and build solutions for our customers and meld those with the opportunities within the industry. And we've come up with these 5 priority scenarios. So transforming your workforce, that's everything from using productivity tools that we're all familiar with. But then if you look at augmented reality and visualizing data on the plant floor, that could be everything from asset data to quality data and supplier data on the plant floor in real space, but even using commodity cameras to help you understand whether your employees are wearing PPE, if they're in the right place at the right time, et cetera. So transforming your workforce and helping you be more productive on the workforce. The second scenario is to build more agile factories, right? So we're turning that technology and using that lens to help us and help our customers improve their quality, improve their uptime, and improve their yield. And so we use artificial intelligence to improve predictive maintenance, anomaly detection, and then even supplier quality as well. Engage customers in new ways. So as we look at manufacturing and even the supply chain constraints that we have today, managing your customer expectations and finding new ways to delight your customers is a huge strategic advantage to manufacturers. So helping you figure out how to engage your customers in ways that they find valuable in the right time, in the right place, with the right offerings is a huge opportunity. Unlocking innovation and delivering new capabilities. So if you look at simulation and using the cloud to minimize your actual footprint of technology on-prem, and then use some of that scalable and flexible architecture in the cloud, that's one way to unlock innovation. But they're also seeing that customers are creating connected products and software solutions that are typically much more profitable and much more innovative and much more sticky at their customers as well. And then finally, create more resilient supply chains. So using tools like Dynamics 365 and Azure, we're giving our customers ways that they can see and get more visualization out of their supply chain to look at logistics and warehouse management, look at financials, and look for those opportunities to improve their processes, improve their supplier relationships, and drive that to the bottom line. So as I said, this is how Microsoft is thinking about and moving forward when it comes to the manufacturing industry. Next slide, please. And then finally, I want to drill down into the supply chain piece of the story. We have great partners like Armanino that actually bring their industry capability and their industry expertise to our platform and make it super relevant to the customer base within manufacturing. So the partnership between our partners like Armanino and the platform are what really make Microsoft valuable to the manufacturing industry. Going forward, we're looking at supply chain in 3 different ways. First, we have Dynamics 365, which is our portfolio of purpose-built applications where our partners build industry-specific intellectual property and deploy that so our customers can then configure their solutions in their environment. The next piece is the open supply chain platform. So that allows for collaboration and using different systems so that you can still get value out of your system while using the most state-of-the-art technology as kind of a bolt-on. And then finally, using data and AI to reason around and analyze the data that you have within your system. Our partner Armanino is using all of these capabilities to really make a huge impact within the manufacturing space. So I want to say thank you, and I'll hand it back to Chris.
Excellent. Hey, thanks, Jesse. I appreciate it. I love the story about the glass manufacturer and the way Microsoft is using predictive analytics around, cash receipts, around forecasting, and really, and really enabling it in these different work streams within the application is super powerful, as well as the cognitive services. So you really see the fact that the platform of capabilities really is embedded in a lot of the business applications to drive additional value. So great job. Hey, with that, I'd like to introduce Jeff Russell. Jeff, formerly before Armanino, Director of Operations for a global manufacturing organization. And Jeff and I have been working together for the last 12 years, and he's held about every single role within the organization. And I'm proud to turn it over to Mr. Russell.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So good morning, good afternoon. Certainly excited to have a few minutes with you today and sort of kind of piggybacking off of, what's got us to this point. Jesse did a nice job of really talking about where Microsoft is going and where we are from a technological capability perspective with Dynamics 365, the Microsoft ecosystem with the analytics and the AI capabilities. But I think when we do a webinar like this, one of the things we really want to accomplish is making it real for you guys and gals as the audience that's out there. And so the next few kind of slides are really to talk a little bit about sort of customer testimonials, case studies, if you will. And certainly, it's always an exciting thing for me to be able to talk about where we've been able to realize success and help clients realize success from the platform. So here to kind of give you a few highlights on that. So the first story we wanted to talk about is a client called KINDEVA Drug Delivery. So these guys are a large, what's called a CDMO, or a contract device manufacturing organization. So they do a lot of, they're in the medical, really medical device, life sciences space. And their customers are other clients that are delivering inhalers, as you see in the image here, and other sort of drug delivery pharmaceutical products. And so, ultimately, they have a very diverse array of products. Their products will continue to evolve as they continue to support their customers as a contract manufacturer. And ultimately, KINDEVA was looking at moving off of a legacy SAP platform. And looked to the market and said, you know what, this Microsoft story feels pretty compelling. Really like the connectivity to the business productivity tools, but really believe in the robustness of the application, the capabilities. Again, think of these guys as a pretty complex business, right? Given the kind of the scale and the size of their customer base. And so it was really important for them to figure out a way to adopt the technology, but not wait for what I would call a long time to value, right? Everybody is always interested in a technology initiative that can be realized value relatively quickly. And so what this customer represents is an example where they adopted the financial kind of core finance, GL, AP, AR, and procurement capabilities, and they did that in a 3-month time frame, right? So on a global basis, across all of their sites, they were able to implement sort of the financial and procurement aspects of Dynamics 365 for finance and supply chain. And then immediately, dovetailing off of that quick success and that quick win was a 9-month rollout across the remainder of the sort of the business needs across manufacturing, the inventory management, the distribution kind of components of all things planning and supply chain. And so a great testimonial to really the power of Dynamics, right? I mean, a client that can move from SAP onto Dynamics really speaks to the scale of Dynamics. For those of you that may not be an organization at this scale, it's a good reminder that you won't outgrow Dynamics. So really a good proof point for that, and also a good myth buster that adopting technology like this takes an extensive period of time. So let's go to the next testimonial. So the company known as MAXLINEAR has undertaken many sort of transitions and name and form over the years, but this has been a long-term client of us, one of our kind of greatest success stories, one of our really greatest clients. And these guys have actually been on the Microsoft platform really for over the last 10 years. They made the decision several years ago to adopt a new technology stack and really move to the modernization of their technology platform. And so they picked Microsoft and Dynamics. In this case, some similarities. They were moving off of an Oracle platform and looking to adopt something that would scale and support the business at that level of complexity, but that's something that was more intuitive for their user community, and something that would allow them to support what really represents, where their current state is, a high growth organization that's going to be continuing to do a lot of M&A activity, as is really prevalent in the semiconductor or high-tech manufacturing space. So in fact, I think MAXLINEAR has done, Chris, keep me honest, I think maybe 26, 27 acquisitions over the last 10 years. And so the proof point here is MAXLINEAR chose to adopt the breadth of the Microsoft platform, right? They're using the front office capabilities around CRM and customer engagement. They're using the back office for all of finance, supply chain, and they have a full data warehouse, Power BI set of capabilities that have been deployed to really bring decision making to middle management, create more real-time observation and decision making around how to run the business, how to optimize, and kind of where they're going. And over the course of doing these acquisitions, they've been rolling all of these acquisitions onto that Microsoft platform. So certainly in this case, just an example of an organization that's growing and evolving quickly and needs to be able to bring additional new colleagues and new business units onto the platform. So a great testimonial to how a business can start, smaller and scale with the Microsoft Dynamics 365 platform.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. Yeah, especially that last one, the Intel acquisition, that almost doubled their business with a $300 million revenue stream brought into the organization. So that was super exciting. And as you can imagine, a complex integration, if you will. Now, hey, next I'd like to introduce John Van Meter. So John and I have been working together for over 20 years. John is our manufacturing industry lead, and he's worked with hundreds of our customers over the years and really helping to solution and helping them visualize how they can leverage new technology to create kind of benefit to the company. I woke up this morning, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this one quote from Ted Quigley, who's the director of operations out at Microchip. And I decided to go back and print it out. He said, optimizing and automating the cycle count process to take advantage of best business practices at Microchip has helped to save over 2,000 hours a year and a savings of approximately 250,000 annually. In addition to the time savings, now Microchip is now able to meet audit requirements, which is basically, in his words, priceless. And this is seriously a quote from him. Did not make it up. He's a good guy, and we help the organization immensely. John, with that, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And, I want to talk a little bit about GIGAMON, because I think this is a representative case of, just how powerful the Dynamics 365 platform is for manufacturing organizations. And this is a network equipment manufacturer, traditionally selling some software and some maintenance and support agreements, but they really wanted to undertake a transition, as we're seeing, more frequently here in this industry, and has been in the medical device industry for a while now. But that's really a transition to product as a service, and that idea is one that allows customers to take a lower upfront investment in adopting new technology, but it also allows the manufacturer, GIGAMON in this case, to sell those stickier products that have annual recurring revenue and help their consistency of their revenues and their growth over time. And it really is an interesting transition of a business model that allows them to bifurcate, still handling all their old legacy business capabilities, but also moving to this product as a service. And so what they found was, in using the D365 application, they were able to be agile enough to take advantage of these new business cases and capitalize on the revenue opportunity there. With that, they've really used the openness of the architecture with a cloud-first strategy to integrate to other tools and technologies, including their licensing management portals and their customer and vendor portals, and along with their 3PL and contract manufacturers through open EDI capabilities as well. So a very powerful story, and something that just shows how strong the platform is and how well it adapts to changing needs in the industry here. Go ahead. All right, so I wanted to touch on a number of other things, some of the specific features that Microsoft has incorporated into the application through a series of updates, and we'll focus on really two areas here. One is going to be on operational excellence, and the other is going to be on technological innovation. Let's go ahead. In terms of operational innovation, this is really where Microsoft has extended the capabilities of the core functional ERP processes to use a series of microservices and artificial intelligence, IoT, and other capabilities to really allow customers to take further advantage of these modern innovations and to optimize their processes. Go ahead. So traditionally, manufacturers have had a pretty linear process of, bringing materials in, through inbound logistics, kind of putting raw materials into a warehouse, going through and doing production of those processes, storing their finished good, and ultimately shipping them out, and really didn't have a whole lot of feedback in the process other than the transactions that were occurring in those ERP movements. But what we've seen is, to Jesse's point about these digital hotspots, is there's all these areas where we can get signals from our supply chain partners, signals from the actual MES systems or other applications in the environment using, machine connectivity to the production floor, being able to track, outbound logistics, and even tracking IoT on the devices themselves that are, finished good products shipped out to customers. Go ahead. So to kind of extend on the previous point around the operational excellence here, that foundational supply chain is something that has been around for some time, and certainly Microsoft has an incredible stack and capabilities around that. But this extended capabilities that have really led into more demand forecasting, so signals on the demand side using things like statistical analysis, using machine learning, allowing you to have multiple data sets and seasonality and best fit analysis in order to predict the amount of materials you need to buy, is one of those capabilities that we're seeing helps optimize those inventory levels and lead to a more profitable business. It also helps with improving the supplier performance, allowing the suppliers to update in real time their commitments, so that MRP knows signals of when this inventory will be there, and to in real time update the planning optimization of the organization. And so even further, the advancements that Microsoft has been driving is this open architecture and connectivity with other systems. We call it the Open Supply Chain Initiative, the integration with data and common data services, so other tools and technologies under a common data model, and the IoT integration with your machines on the shop floor, and HoloLens, which is further extending some of the capabilities to new hires and remote workforces. So we'll talk a little bit about those in the following slides here. So with that, the technology modernization, this is really what the core enablement stems from. These new business processes are being enabled through this technology, and allowing people to build and deploy these scalable capabilities, through web or portals or mobile client apps, and being able to adopt more machine connectivity and IoT, and allowing that to essentially modernize the business operations. Go ahead. So in terms of the IoT intelligence, this is probably the biggest shift that we've been seeing in this modern cloud architecture, being able to identify things like track in, track out of production operations through an MES integration, through tools, being able to signal warehouses to do directed pick and pick automation through using robots. Those types of capabilities are now even easier to enable through some of the Microsoft Logic apps and connected IoT services. We're also seeing some real practical applications around asset management, so maintenance, repair type activities on shop floor, as well as customer assets in the field. And then we're seeing a lot in terms of machine health and operational insights. And we'll show a little screenshot of what that is, but we can capture these signals from the IoT hub in Microsoft Azure, and surface those directly in the ERP system, enabling you to see the state of the machine in real time. So by incorporating this modern IoT into your production operations, able to get more analytics in terms of the performance of your production, with real-time feedback, no longer writing operational job notes on a paper traveler and then putting it in at the end of the day by somebody hand keying it in and just kind of being happy that your inventory is close to accurate. It's really keeping that in real time, using real-time MES capabilities, real-time track out of machines, and real-time operational insights here. So here you can see just a few images of how that looks in terms of real-time metrics of time series data that can be captured from the IoT and surfaced in the supply chain management. And then we could also see performance from an overall equipment effectiveness, and a maintenance requests of those tools when the downtime is going to be, and we can be more predictive in servicing those machines. Go ahead. So when we look at another use case here, this is an example of the Dynamics 365 supply chain management MES. So our ability to report using touchscreens real time on the production floor. And in some of these more complex environments of manufacturing, these can be, many level D bills of material. There may be drawings and ISO training requirements and things that are going to be, required to do this complex stuff. And, with the level of, challenges it is to hire new employees and scale up of demand and trying to get new people out on the floor, training these people and making sure that they're able to have a consistent quality of production is critical to the success and quality of the organization. So Microsoft's really taken some strides here in ingraining what they call guides in the manufacturing process, allowing you to, select the guide related to the manufacturing product, the bill of material, or the route operation step. And from a HoloLens device, immediately scan this little URL code here, and it'll bring up a augmented reality capability to direct people how to, complete the steps that they need to either service equipment, or in this case, complete a production operation step. So really, really rich capabilities and things that we're seeing, being adopted more wide scale here. Another key area is mobility. Now, mobility is something that's been a trend for a while now, but I think one thing that Microsoft does different and better here is that they've enabled this natively within their application to quickly configure these mobile devices and take some of the real key business processes and just make them easy to use on the fly by employees, whether it's invoice approval or other workflows, or just checking quick check of inventory. These things are very easy to do from a mobile device, and it enables more users to be productive in the system. We're also seeing, as Chris and Jesse both alluded to here, data being obviously critical to the success of firms, and how they're taking advantage of the data that they have and presenting them in a way that's easy to consume. It's well governed and orchestrated, but at the same time allows end users to slice and dice it and interrogate that data in a way that's very user friendly. So Microsoft Flow and the Power Platform, in terms of the ability to bring that data in from multiple sources and systems, to keep it into a Microsoft Azure database or data lake, and to surface that through Power Apps and Power BI, all are part of what Microsoft calls their Power Platform. And that stack of tools is really what our team of advanced analytics and automation are focused on, driving these processes and this data surfacing and investigation, interrogation into your operations, and making it real and tangible, and bringing real-time benefits. Another one thing in terms of these Power Apps, because of the first party nature of the integrations between the Microsoft stack in general, is these Power Apps are enabled to be quickly embedded and can be built through like drag drop end user capabilities into the application itself. And what this does, it allows companies to be more agile in adopting new processes, and eliminating customizations and bringing these small companion apps into their process. And here's just a quick example of one that was done to just capture real quick WIP visualization of where things are at by stage of production, in a waterfall method of multiple things going through a series of operations. But these things can be done for all areas of the application, and quickly deployed. And we're seeing a ton of these things being done in inventory control and movements and transfers, and all the way down through end customer deliveries and signature captures and things like that. So just a ton of applications of where this is very strong fit.
All right, so I'm gonna kind of bring it home here before we get into some questions. We felt that doing a webinar to talk about Microsoft and in the manufacturing space and what's happening in the manufacturing world would be a disservice if we didn't talk about a few things that are, really out there, that are really gaining traction and momentum from a trending topic perspective. And so I wanted to kind of leave you with a little bit of maybe just a scratching the surface, but highlighting kind of 3 trends that we see in the manufacturing markets today, that organizations should be thinking about, really be proactively planning for, and in some cases, maybe even really readying to embrace. So to stay ahead of your competitors and really meet the needs of your clients and your people. These are kind of 3 trends that we wanted to talk about. So next slide, please. So the first is really around, a global sustainability concept that is called ESG for short. So that acronym may be new to some of you, may not for others, but it stands for environmental social governance. And while we could do a webinar on this topic alone, what I would say is that in the manufacturing space, think of this as sustainability for carbon emissions and carbon footprint. Think of it as sustainability for diversity and inclusion, and ultimately how those things fold into the needs and demands of all the stakeholders in your business, right? Your investors, your customers, your other vendors that you work with. And so certainly, this has been often a fringe issue in the past, and kind of here to tell you today, if you don't know, that this is really moving front and center to being on the agenda of policymakers, boards, really committees at large, and organizations are going to have to be preparing for reporting and decision making that incorporates kind of these components into running your business. And so certainly a big trend, a lot to it. I think in the ESG space, as an example for this group, Microsoft has kind of started to lead the way here, and will actually provide for its customers the carbon footprint associated with its Azure environments and sort of the consumption of technology that you're using from Microsoft. So that folds into your overall ESG. So something to be thinking about, and certainly happy to answer questions as we jump into the questionnaire portion of this. The second trend is really around Internet of Things, or IoT. And we've talked about a few different things in the webinar today. John talked a little bit about product as a service and kind of where the manufacturing world is going. And really IoT is kind of front and center in this as well. So the future of business, the future of companies, is that every manufacturing company will be a technology company. Even if you're not manufacturing something that you think is a technology industry oriented item today, you will be embracing technology, need to embrace technology to stay ahead. And IoT is absolutely a critical portion of that. So really enabling the frameworks and the technology that you have to run your business, to bring the data in and be smarter and more proactive. So IoT, again, another area of key focus. And then the last is really the last topic that John was speaking a little bit about, but really kind of the automation capabilities that Microsoft brings us through the Power Apps and Power Platform. But think of this as the low code, no code. How do I improve and evolve and enhance my business without just the larger, more traditional kind of big business application adoption that is certainly key. Every business out there, all of you out there, you have someone and many people in your business today that are doing something that's very manual, that's very repetitive, that probably doesn't require a lot of knowledge capital to really understand and produce, but nonetheless is a manual exercise. And this is where the Power Platform is super powerful, right? So the leveraging Power Apps is something that we're seeing with many of our clients that are really beginning to move the needle with their organization, and something that is going to be a continued trend for all clients in the manufacturing space. So again, just three quick trends that we think you should be thinking about, and happy to help you with any of these, as Armanino has robust practice areas across all 3 of these trends. So food for thought. So I'll turn it back to Chris. I think we're going to kick it over to questions. I think we may have had a couple come in as we were talking.
All right. Hey, thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Hey, before we get into the questions, as I really think about digital transformation, sort of the future of what you should be thinking about, where your business needs to be, I've got a quick quiz. So I'm gonna ask the question, I'm gonna let Kim go through and ask the other questions, and then at the end I'll see if we get an answer. But the quiz question is, and it's, by the way, it's worth a $25 Starbucks gift card. Which prominent CEO said, frankly, I am confused by the fascination with company X. We are offering everything they have and a lot more. Okay, so think about that. I'm looking for an answer. Which CEO? But let's take a few minutes. And Kim, I saw a few questions pop up. Why don't you go ahead and address that?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. Jeff, I think I have a question here that would be for you. So there's so much technology, so many innovations. It seems overwhelming. Where do we start?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say you're not alone. Thank you for the brave question. Many people wonder the same. One of my favorite quotes is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And the reality is that with how quickly and robustly the technology landscape of our world has evolved, it's so powerful, but it's also so intimidating and can be cumbersome to navigate and understand, what is the highest value for my organization? What do I need to be thinking about in the near term? What do I need to be thinking about in the medium term and long term? How do I build a cohesive strategy that allows me to be successful? Certainly maximize the investments I'm going to make, and certainly support, the needs and demands of my business, and back to supporting the stakeholders as a whole. So what I would say is the best advice is to start with a more strategic foundation and do what we at Armanino call kind of a road mapping exercise that part of our strategy team really provides to clients is to really help them think through those things, right? Start with the end in mind, but you don't know what the end outcomes necessarily are. And so we bring our strategy and transformation prowess to the table to help companies really go through that exercise with your executives and really be mindful for where the organization is going and what technology and how to adopt it through the course of the program. We highlighted KINDEVA, MAXLINEAR, and GIGAMON as our customer examples earlier. All of those companies had very different strategic roadmaps, very different strategies, right? They all achieve success, but there isn't a formulaic approach to it. So you really need to bring in experts. We'd love to help you, but to really figure out what is the right strategy for your organization to adopt technology.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff.
Great. Next question, Jesse, for you. Historically, there has not been much messaging around Microsoft in manufacturing industries. How do you see Microsoft driving true industry solutions and thought leadership over the next 5 years?
Sure. Yeah.
By the way, no pressure.
Yeah. So it's a really good question, and so what's happened with Microsoft is we've always been part of the manufacturing industry from our inception, right? We started as a platforms company. We started in Windows. If you look back 30, 40 years, the HMIs that are on the plant floor are, Windows NT, Windows 95. A lot of the historians run on SQL, et cetera. So Microsoft has always been in the industry, but we've been kind of foundational layer to the industry. And what we've seen is the cloud has changed the relationship that technology companies have with their customers and business decision makers have with technology. So what we've done is we've pivoted accordingly. The request that we're getting from business decision makers is, I don't necessarily care as much about the bits and bytes. I want to help manage risk, and I want to have clear transparency to an ROI. And so Microsoft and our partners are pivoting and meeting our customers where they are. They're looking for transformation partners from a technology perspective and transformation partners from a strategy perspective, because all of these trends that we're talking about that are kind of overlaid are going to be foundational to the industry going forward. We don't talk about computers in manufacturing as if there's a difference. We talk about manufacturing, and it's understood that computers are in manufacturing. So AI is going to be the same way. IoT is going to be the same way. ESG is going to be the same way. So it's a long-term discussion and a long-term relationship that you're going to have with your technology partners in this space. And Microsoft is continuing to invest in solutions that make that more transparent, minimize the risk, and bring the KPIs to the front. And our partners are also a critical part in that discussion to help you build that roadmap and the strategy so that you are actually driving toward value creation.
Excellent. Thanks, Jesse. Jesse, thank you for your insight on that. That was very helpful. All right. So, hey, I did get the correct answer. And it did come from Steve Gray with BioNano. So congratulations, Steve. You're the award winner of the $25 gift card. But once again, which CEO, frankly, I'm confused by the fascination with Company X we are offering, they have, and a lot more. That was the Blockbuster CEO talking about Netflix 2 years prior to going out of business. Wow. Goes to show you how important digital transformation is. Once again, hey, I want to thank our speakers, Jeff, John, and Jesse. And I want to also thank all the participants who took the time to log on today. Looking forward to working with you guys and creating true digital transformation. Everybody have a great Thursday. Thank you.
All right. Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Thank you everyone for attending, and please take a moment to fill out our survey at the end. Thank you.